The XY Advisor podcast is intended for professional financial advisors. All discussion is limited to publicly available information and should not be interpreted as legal, professional, or financial advice. XY Advisor does not hold an AFS license nor provide any financial services. Before making investment decisions, you should obtain financial advice from a qualified financial advisor.
Financial advisors help Australians live better lives, and we're great at it. But what about us? For us to thrive in the coming years, I'm here to ask a very big question. How can we live better, run better businesses, and help more clients along the way? My name is Jessica Brady, and I would love for you to join me as I listen and learn from experts who answer these very big questions. I am lucky enough to record most of my podcasts on Gadigal land.
This podcast is brought to you by MetLife 360 Health. MetLife has partnered with Teladoc to provide 360 Health virtual care, which gives your clients access to more than 50,000 local and global medical specialists through the convenience of the 360 Health virtual care app. And best of all, it's at no extra cost as part of their MetLife Protect policy. 360 Health helps to defend against serious illnesses so you can live healthier for longer. MetLife, inspired by you.
Welcome back to the XY Advisor podcast. It's Fraser Jack here, and today I'm joined by Daniel Donovan. G'day, mate.
G'day, Fraser.
How are you?
I'm going very well, mate. Going well. How about yourself?
Yeah, but tremendous. Thank you for asking. Now, we wanted to talk all sort of things today about your journey through financial advice and where you're heading in the future. So, but to give us a bit of a round off to start with, tell us a little bit about where you are at the moment and what you're doing.
I work with a fantastic company called Verse Wealth. I am their head of operations and one of their financial advisors as part of the broader team.
Fantastic. I love the fact that you've got two hats, head of operations and financial advisor. We're going to get a little bit more into that as we go through, but let's go back in time. Let's talk about your career and your journey. Tell us where it all started. You left school. What did you want to be when you grow up?
That's a great question, Fraser. And I think, like a lot of people, I didn't have a great idea at the time of what I wanted to be. I applied during the uni days. I worked at Apple in one of their retail stores here in Melbourne. And I was there for 5 years in lots of different capacities across sales and technical support and the like. And I guess that's where I really got my first experience in a really culture-based company like Apple. They really value their people, value their customer experience, value their systems and processes. And I love my time there. It was one of the best jobs that I've had so far. After uni, jumped out of uni into a grad role in a consultancy firm, again, not knowing what I really wanted to do, but thought I'd give that a try. Worked in a bit of risk and compliance, still wasn't really fulfilled. Wanted to do something more in the money space, moved again into a funds management role in operations, which I enjoyed the operations side of it, but again, the business didn't quite align with my values. And then I thought, I looked at financial advice early on in my career. Most of the roles are quite salesy and very focused on targets and more the numbers rather than the people. And that's where I thought, if I'm going to move into advice, I'm going to find a company that aligns with my values and does it the way that I think it should be done. And funnily enough, Fraser, XY Advisor, the podcast, was one of the first resources that I looked into and utilized it in part of my journey. A lot of the roles you apply for in advice require experience, even at entry level, like most jobs. And I thought, how do I get my foot in the door? And I thought learning about other people's experiences would be a good way to start. So 60, 70, however many podcasts there were at the time, many more now, obviously, but binge listen through all of those. And that's what kind of kickstarted my love of advice.
Wow, I love the old, long-time listener, first-time caller scenario here. I want to go back. I want to go back through. I'll get to the stuff and values because I think they're really important. I want to dive into that a bit deeper. I want to go back to the Apple Store, the culture. Obviously, there's certain, these large businesses. If we talk about the McDonaldized type thing, where things are set up. There's lots of systems. There's lots of support networks. As you mentioned, a really cool culture. Tell us about those learnings from that environment, and I want to know a bit more about how you use them today, obviously, but I want to know about that structure that was involved in that larger business, because a lot of people come into this in a small business way, and they haven't had that experience through a really strong culture business.
I can sum it up, Fraser, I guess, by my first day at Apple. I remember walking down the corridor of the shopping centre, and this roar came through the shopping centre, and it's 8:30 in the morning before the shops open. I thought, well, that's a bit strange. Anyway, I turned the corner into the Apple store, and that same roar happened for me. And it's how, I'm not sure if it still happens now, but Apple welcomes all employees with a large, they call it a warm welcome. And it's just everyone going absolutely crazy, excited, wooing, clapping, cheering for you as you enter the store. And I just remember thinking like, this is my first experience of working here. And it's such a cool, welcoming experience to already feel a part of the team, not having met anyone else there. So it's kind of from there, the team was small. We spent a lot of time together, great leadership around, going above and beyond for customers, really focusing on, under promising, over delivering. And, people would come into the store and just see all these people everywhere, and they'd think, how do you cope? It's just noise, it's people everywhere. And we like to call it at the time organized chaos. Everyone knew exactly where they needed to be. Everyone knew exactly what coverage areas they needed to look after. What questions to ask. There was no ever pressure on any sales or anything like that. So it was very much people-driven. And one of the key things for Apple is that their soul is their people. And they really did live that throughout my journey there. Always seeking to give great feedback, always seeking it and giving it as well in both ways. Not just from teammates, but also from customers as well through the Net Promoter Score system. So a lot of those key pillars, I guess, that all coming back to, I guess, people in the first instance. Apple really believe that if you look after your people, they'll look after the customers, and that's something I think really rings true in today's day and age with a lot of businesses.
And was that something that was consciously talked about? The fact that you're going to get looked after here because we want you to look after our people. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the fact that that I could go through an entire day, sell a pair of headphones, and the person next to me could sell 8 iPhones, and we were celebrated the same way, just kind of indicates that we were talking about the product because we loved it and because we really wanted to give that great experience to customers, to really help them in their lives rather than trying to push a product on them that might not be right for them. And there'd often be times where I'd say, actually, it sounds like based on what you're talking about, that an iPhone or a Mac isn't actually what's best for you in this instance. And people just value that honesty, really. I think that's, you go into a shop like that and you think, well, I'm just going to be upsold and cross-sold, and I'll walk out with 8 things I didn't need in the first place, with a top spec computer to do a bit of internet browsing. So, it was that kind of customer first culture that really was celebrated daily in not just the interactions you had with customers, but also in the way that we were where the metrics and the targets worked as well, or the lack thereof in that sense. Yeah, just listening to your story, it feels to me like you were paid to do a job at the time, but the learnings from working in that practices will continue to pay dividends to you for the rest of your life as you go through your career.
Absolutely, Fraser, 100%. I just think that if a lot of people, I mean, I can't speak for the culture now. It's been a while since I've worked there, but if everyone had gone through that experience, worked in customer service, with that kind of business behind them that supported their learning and development into just being a better person and progressing and growing and developing, I think there'd be a lot better people in this, in advice and other industries.
Yeah, it probably also gave you the opportunity to, from a tech background point of view, being able to engage in the ways that technology can be used in user experience or customer experience.
Spot on. I think, I always loved technology growing up and, enjoyed learning the new things, but also to see the technological development in the store itself, from, the point of sale system to the concierge system to the repair system to the ordering system, whatever it was. Apple heavily embraced that, and it just got better and better throughout my time there to really enable the team members on the floor to be able to better help customers by knowing, who's in the queue, where are they, there was no kind of waiting area necessarily. You could just wait anywhere in the store, but you would know when your next appointment would they be based on the system and a brief description of what they were wearing, and where they were located generally in the store. So often customers, I'd walk up and go, Michael, and they go, oh, it is Michael. How did you know? And we would just say, oh, I just knew it was you, just so we didn't reveal the secrets. But yeah, the amount of effort and time and detail that Apple would go to around that was, definitely life lessons for in the role that I'm in now. I'm head of operations of a growing business. Always kind of having that one eye on how can we do things better, how can we improve, how can we be more efficient, because it's definitely easy to get in the day-to-day of being busy and seeing clients and helping people, and taking that time to step back and think how can we be doing this better is so important.
Yep. And I'm going to get into that a little bit more as we go through, because I think there's definitely a clear pathways that we can draw between what you were doing there and what you're doing now. I want to just quickly touch on, you mentioned being aligned with your values and understanding what your values were. I guess it's sometimes hard to work out what your values are. Did you do some work with that, or did you have some clear ideas of who you wanted to be? What you stood for?
Not officially, I guess, Fraser. I mean, I guess throughout my experience at Apple and other, growing up and the people that I spent time with, I guess I kind of learnt more about what they were and what is important to me, and not just from a personal side of things, but from a work side of things. And often those two things can be very interconnected as well. And if you have to be someone different at work and completely change who you are, it can often be quite challenging to spend 40 hours doing that and then going home a different person. So it's definitely something I have found at some of the roles that I've done, where I've had to be a different Daniel at work to who I am at home, and that's not someone that I wanted to be. I wanted a place that embraced who I was for all the person I was. All the weirdness that comes with being a person, embracing all of that. So yeah, the things around the honesty piece, the integrity, all the key ones that I guess that a lot of people do share. But I guess for me, it's really focusing on people first, making sure that they look after, that you go out of your way to help your teammates, you go out of your way to be honest and transparent and getting to the truth quickly, and actually reflect a lot of the values that I hold, reflecting a lot of the values that Verse hold, the 5 key ones that we have every day that are not just words on the wall, but are very much lived and shared and celebrated.
Yeah, now this is a really interesting point, because a lot of people don't understand or get to that bottom of what they stand for, and they get into a job and they just think, oh, well, it's work, but they have to be somebody different, as you mentioned, the different Daniel at work. When you started working at Verse, was that something that was strong on the conversation when you were talking about starting your work there, or as a career?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of how the values, what they are, what's expected of them, and I've seen them develop over the journey as well. But it very much felt, it might sound a little cliche, but it very felt like I was home, in quotation marks, I guess you would call it, when I was at Verse. It felt like I didn't have to be anyone else. I could just, the things that were important to them were important to me. Like I said earlier, the focus on transparency, the focus on client, the focus on team, the focus on improving, making things really simple. Those kind of things I just thought were, for me, no-brainers, but to see a company celebrate that and to focus on that and to live that each day, it just made my integration into the team that much more easier.
Yep. Now tell us about that journey in. Where did it start for you, and how did you get a start with Verse?
So I actually initially read an article in the Money Management magazine, I think it was called at the time, back in mid-2017, where there was an article written on Verse. And I remember reading that article thinking, this business is really impressive. And I thought, well, I don't know anyone in the industry. I just thought I'll give it a shot. I'll reach out to a few different people. So Verse is one. There were a couple of others at the time. Purely with the expectation of just getting to know the person, getting their experience, similar kind of what XY did for me as well, but on a more personal level. And so I reached out to the business, and Corey was very gracious with his time. We caught up for a coffee at the time, and that was just a really easy conversation. Again, lots of synergies across what was important to both of us. And whilst there was nothing, I didn't go in with an expectation of a job or anything like that. It was something that I wanted to learn from Corey and get his advice and mentorship. And over that journey, we kept in touch. And 9 months later, the person that was in the role that I started at Verse as a client experience manager, looking after implementation. She decided to go on a holiday for 9 months around the world, and Corey offered me the gig and said, "The job's yours if you'd like it." And I thought, I jumped at the opportunity. I really thought, hang on, this is exactly the type of business I want to work in, who do advice the exact way that I want it to, that I think it should be done. The rest is history.
So where were you working at the time before when you had that, when Corey reached out and said, come along and be...
I was in a funds management business at the time, working in the city in an operations role. We managed money for religious organizations and charities. And it was they didn't have as much of a focus on the customer, and I didn't really see the end result as much working in operations, which is kind of what sparked my interest in maybe doing something more for retail style customers that that would really value the advice and get a lot out of it.
Yeah, I always relate this back to human beings, that if some human beings just don't want to be, in front of a customer or a client or another human being and get their reaction, and are quite happy to work in that back office or that area where they, administration, like doing funds management or picking stocks, whatever it might be. And then other people just really love that, being able to see the client's face when they achieve goals or whatever it might be, and being part of that story, which is also, I love seeing that too. So tell me about that start. Then you started with the client experience adverse. Tell us about the first day and how you got it, and coming into that business.
Funny you say that, Fraser, because my first day at Verse was eerily similar to my first day at Apple. We were working at the old World Trade Center building down in the city. And I was in the waiting area and I heard Justin Timberlake playing. And I was like, that's quite strange. And they knew one of my favorite artists is Justin Timberlake. And I walked into the office and all the teammates were on Zoom. Michael Back, for those of you know him, Corey was there. Backy was on Zoom in a cafe, I think in Brisbane, just grooving and jamming like nobody was watching. They'd stuck up, pictures on the wall and got my desk already, and all these kinds of small things. All put together just made me feel like I was part of the team already. So that absolutely nailed the first day. It's I guess from there that's cemented for me the decision to work with Verse and to know that I made the right decision on that side. And for me, it's always been trying to then give back to, as our team's grown at the time. It was myself, Corey, and Joreen, who is one of our teammates in the Philippines. And now we're a team of, I think, 15 or 16 now, 4 and a bit years later. So, that focus on people and culture and being a great teammate is something that's always been deeply within me to give back to those as the team grows.
Yeah, amazing first day, amazing experience to be welcomed in, and to instantly feel like you're part of the team. Tell me a little bit about your journey throughout those last 4.5 years. What as your roles progressed, as things have changed?
Absolutely. So I started in that implementation role. That was my first role in advice. So I took a lot of time at the start, really learning how the advice process works, about the industry, about the way Verse do it. Spent a lot of time in meetings with Corey, learning from him and learning the way that he delivers advice. He's a wonderful advisor, and all of his clients would say so. And just a great mentor and teacher as well, and a great person all around, really. But so I spent a lot of time with him in those meetings to develop my advisor skills. Being an advisor was always a goal of mine, to see my own clients. I did really enjoy the back of house and the operations and doing that side of things, but being able to see the impact of the advice was also really appealing to me as well. So it was about a year later that I actually ended up seeing my first client. Was on I remember them specifically, a Navy guy. They say you never forget your first client. Absolutely lovely. Did a bit of advice on his military super and setting him up with a personal investment account. It was a shock to be honest, being a year into advice and being able to see my first client. But Corey had amazing trust and faith in me. Again, really shows that the values of the business, and never settling and always trying to improve and be better, and the most of your growth occurs outside of your comfort zone as well. So and that was a wonderful experience. And since then, my time's been split, I guess, between seeing clients and working on the operation of the business as the head of ops, You mentioned earlier that I've got a couple of hats. I guess the operations hat has about 843 other hats within it, as does a couple of other roles we have at Verse. So, whether it's IT or systems or processes or compliance or payroll, you name it, I probably do some of it. But funnily enough, working at Apple has its perks, absolutely. But as soon as someone finds out you used to work at Apple, you become the default IT guy, and all their iPhone and iPad issues all come out of the woodwork, and which you've got to be careful who you tell, Fraser, if you worked at Apple.
I want to know. Well, we've told everyone now. I want to know if you've got a Genius bar set up in the office.
I should, shouldn't I?
Get people to make appointments. All right, fantastic. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That split, that working with your split hats. Tell me about that role. Is that you've sort of evolved into that role? Again, people, when you get to work somewhere for a long period, people think, oh, well, you've got strengths in that area. You've got great organisational strengths. You've got great, tech and IT strengths, and that customer service overlay of making sure the clients are getting a great experience. How does that hat work with your advisor hat? Is that 50-50 or what sort of a time frame is that taking?
Well, that's an interesting question, Fraser. I guess it's depending on the needs of the business, I guess, and more and more the operation of the business is taking more and more of my time at this point. I got into the operations role based on the business not being as kind of well operationalized as I thought it maybe needed to be at the time. It had a great client experience. It just could have been done a lot better, more efficiently with better systems and better technology. We always try and, we want to have a technology-driven system, but advisor-led. It's really technology-enabled. That's a better way to put it, I'd say. Technology-enabled, advisor-driven. And given the expansion of technology over the last, even 5 years, even 10 years, even last year, depending on what area you're talking about, but really, focusing on that client experience and making sure the business is well operationalized to grow. So it's just something that kind of came naturally to me, or is naturally of interest to me. Something that naturally that I enjoy doing, and Corey saw that as well. And he's more of a higher level person, whereas I'm more of a detailed person in that side of things. So we worked well together in that sense to really well operationalize the business at that time.
Yep.
So over the journey, it's kind of ebbed and flowed, but I'd say at this point it's definitely more ops than advising at this point, just given how quickly the team's growing and all the different new and exciting things that we're coming across.
How important is for someone like Corey that to give you the space and the budget to go and put these systems in place? Because often there's time and budget are two considerations to introducing new technology or new systems. Every time there's change, it's like, you mentioned before, always improving as part of one of the mantras within the business. But that often means that there's, we've just got something settled in, it's working, and now we're going to we're going to blow it up and change it again. How important is that?
Exactly.
From a management point of view, for what Corey does, to be able to say you've got some space and some budget to go and put this in place or to make changes? He
has the utmost faith in all teammates within Verse, and that's one of his true strengths, I guess. If the way that he thinks about it is, if you hire great people, you let them do their thing, they'll get the job done, I guess. So that's always been our mantra, and that's something that really, as a teammate, you really want to do your best for people like that and give back, and even go above and beyond most of the time to kind of repay that trust. Even when you instinctively think, hang on, I've only been here 6 months, should you really be giving me this much power and leeway and rope to make all these changes? So absolutely, I think that's a fundamental part of a business that wants to change and wants to be better and wants to grow, is that type of leadership that does embrace change, that does, doesn't tie themselves to any piece of software or system, or and it's also about making sure you give yourself space to do that. It's easy to just be so busy that, if it's working, we'll just get to it at some point. At Verse, we ritualize the improving on, working on the business, not just in the business. It's a full day a month most times for at least Corey and I on how we can improve things and focus on what the initiatives we need to be focusing on. through the objectives and key results system, OKRs, that I'm sure Corey's mentioned on this podcast before. So yeah, it enables us to stay focused and keep making those improvements and keep finding ways to do things better, even though like we think we still have a fantastic client experience. We just think we can always be doing it better. And it's important not to rest on your laurels in this ever changing, ever growing business.
Yeah, and to my point as well, the thing I notice about you guys is you are prepared to take that time once a month to do that. You are also prepared to put some money behind those changes, because obviously anytime you do something like that, bring on new software, there's changes, but there's also costs. And I imagine I sort of feel, I don't know the numbers, but I feel like you're one of these businesses that are prepared to invest over and above what some of the others do to into that technology.
Absolutely, and the money side of things is important, but also just the team impact as well. Getting we now have 15, 16 teammates, and getting them across all the change management. Hey, we used to do it this way, and now we do it this way, and these are the reasons why, and this is how it's going to impact you and what you do on a day-to-day basis, and this is the new system you need to log into, and you're going to stop doing that. We make so many changes to the client experience for the better over the course of the 12 months. I'd say more than most do in years, and that's just because we're not tied to anything, and we have a fantastic team that embrace those changes and all want, whilst their main role might be an advisor or it might be a power planner or whatever that might be, they still have a really a never settle is the value that we have, a never settle mindset around getting better as a business. And those changes are we seek feedback and input from team, where it's needed and necessary, and where it's going to be valuable, to make sure that it's not just our opinion, my opinion, or Corey's opinion. It really is a team effort to make sure they're all really on the same page and embracing the changes as they see clients moving forward.
Yeah, a lot of advisors might be worried about changes because it requires retraining clients as well. Like you've got a great client experience, and then you go and change it, and so the clients does it ever sort of, is that something that you can, obviously you would consider it, but is that do you talk to your clients about the changes and what they're doing and how it's improving, and do you use that client feedback to make those tweaks?
Definitely. We're constantly seeking client feedback, with each what we call journey sessions or review sessions that we have with clients, whether it be annually, biannually, triannually. We're always asking, as part of our pre-meeting survey, how we could be doing things better. We're asking the Net Promoter Score question, so we know how they're feeling about our service. Really make sure that's more proactive than reactive. And absolutely, we have different levels of technical expertise in our client base. Some are fantastic, some are not, as with most practices. So, when you're thinking about, we might launch, for example, a client portal, how's that going to impact the 30 or 40-year-old versus the 50, 60, 70-year-old client. And really thinking about, it's got to make sure that, it's an enhancement to the entire client experience, not just how we do it and how it's going to make our lives easier, quicker, and more efficient, but how it's actually going to benefit the client and make it easier for them to do business with us. For an example, we always try and use phones as much as possible, where, try to get on the client's phone, not into their email or not onto their computer. We get so many emails, so much clutter. We really want to meet clients where they are, and where clients are is on their phone. So if we can text clients a document or get them to sign it there, or, a quick text message to say, hey, are you still good for this meeting? Rather than an email, it's just one of the many examples where we think, that's a conscious decision that we made to shift towards that. And the feedback from clients has been very well received, to say thank you for getting out of my cluttered inbox. It's just easy to get in touch with you guys, knowing that that's an option.
Yeah, it's a fantastic option. I love it. I want to talk to you a little bit more about the NPS, Net Promoter Score, around the work that you do just on that feedback from clients, but then you turn it into, reviews, good reviews, NPS, Net Promoter Score, referrals off the back of that. Tell us a little bit how that part of the business and how that all works.
That's a very good question, Fraser. Again, it's something that we spent a lot of time and effort and thought into systematizing and making a process out of all of those things. So, as you said, the Net Promoter Score, we measure that before every review session. That's a client must do the Typeform survey in order to get to the booking system, and those two are linked. So there's just one link. The client fills out the survey. It automatically redirects them to Calendly. They book in their session. So in the past, we had two links, and clients would do one or the other. So finding ways to encourage, or in this case, force clients to get that feedback to answer that question means that we know where we stand with them. That then links into the Google review side of things as well. That was a big focus for us to really enhance our presence on Google. I think we're up to 134 5-star reviews now. And, we're very much proud of all those reviews and the lovely words that clients say, not just about the advisor, but also, the teammate that's implementing their advice, or the power planner, or whoever it might be. It is a real team experience. But that's all built into agendas, and we have email templates to get people to take them directly to the Google review landing page, where all they have to start doing is type the review straight into it. Again, if you just say, hey, can you leave us a Google review? Client's got to search us, then find where's the Google review button, and what's my login details. And if you just think of all the different steps the client has to get to, they'll just put it into the too hard basket. But if you just make it so it's almost too easy, or remove all obstacles for the clients to do something for you, it just means that there's really leaving them no reason not to do it. So we get a fantastic Net Promoter Score that then leads into the Google review, and off the back of that, we have a fantastic client referral system as well, where again, technology enabled, where we introduce or clients can introduce friends or family through a landing page that to an email that comes from Verse that then they learn more about us, and if they feel like they'd like to book in, they can, rather than, hey, here's my number of a friend, can you reach out to them, and you call them and they say, who are you, and I didn't know you were calling. And so there's all these different parts to it, Fraser, that a lot of time and effort goes into, and this is where that OKR system comes back to, the objectives and key results. One of our key results for one of our objective is provide a world-class CX. The key result is increase our NPS from X to X, and then the actions fall off the back of that to actually to drive the increase in those numbers. So it keeps us targeted, it keeps us focused on what's actually driving the change there, to make sure that we stay on track and focus on the right things, because a lot of businesses get into the trap of trying to finish 100 things and finishing 1 and half starting 8, where we'll start 6 and finish 5, because we're just hyper focused on what's important to us, rather than starting lots of different things where we might get a 10% increase in efficiency or client experience.
Yep, wonderful. I love the world-class client experience, by the way. Now, I'm imagining all those. I love the review idea too, rather than a testimonial. I think reviews are a better word, because testimonial just means it's going to be nice. Whereas a review, there's this chance you could be getting a 1-star. Like obviously you've done the Net Promoter, so you're pretty confident they're going to be giving you good reviews. But the review, from a consumer purchasing point of view, I'll look at reviews, because it's not just testimonials. There's no point in me looking at testimonials; they're all going to be good. But reviews are great, because you get somebody might have had a great experience and they'll say it. Now, obviously, all of that great system, that review, that referral, that offering, introduction to friends, etc., has led to a huge amount of growth in the business. And obviously, you mentioned that when you came on, there was a couple of people there, and now you're up to 15. Tell us about that growth in the people coming on, and how that referral system, or that new clients coming in and getting good reviews on Google, has led to such a high uplift in the business where you need to grow up to 15 staff.
So it's just been over 4 years now since I've been in the business. So it's something that we've spent a lot of time, as you've mentioned, around the reviews piece. We spend a lot of time on our marketing as well, to make sure we get the right strategy there around getting our names out there and making sure we're available to be searched for and appear high in Google rankings. And there's various different strategies that we implement that has led to us be able to more comfortably rely on our leads each month and how many we get and where they're coming from. Again, we have great systems and processes in place to track where they come from, where our best ROI is, where it's not, where do we need to focus on, because I think we have 11 or 12 different Calendly links where people can book in, and which are all different sources, and then we can track where those leads come from, so to know where to focus on. And yes, that obviously leads to needing more people. And, whilst Corey was seeing a lot of the clients when I started, or all of them, he needed to focus more being on the business rather than in the business. So bringing on a couple more advisors. By the time COVID hit, we went back to 3. I think we had a couple more at the time, and then went back to a team of 3. And it's kind of since the end of COVID, or end of that first lockdown, the second half of 2020, where I think for some people, the pandemic has heightened their awareness around their money and made them want to seek out advice to maybe get a better understanding of where they sit. Are they on track? So from that side of things, we focus a lot on finding great people, and that's a lot harder than I think we thought it was going to be. Finding great people that are really aligned, that are high performers, that can kind of step into day one and hit the ground running. It's been wonderful to see over the time. We used to just have advisors, and we had some teammates in the Philippines that are heavily integrated into the team who handle a lot of their implementation and paraplanning work. To now having a couple of associates, we've now got 3 main advisors in the business, plus Corey and myself are also part-time, advisors, plus a couple of associates, plus 8. We have now 8 in the Philippines. So it's been wonderful to see the team grow, especially, for example, Fritzy, she's our client experience manager now, the role that I was doing when I started. She joined the team nearly 3 years ago, having never done advice before whatsoever. Didn't really even know what superannuation was. So she started, and from there, she's now learned all the implementation, the technical side of advice, to the point now where she's leading a team of 3 other implementation teammates and mentoring and training them on how to implement advice. So it's that kind of thing that fills my cup and fulfills me. Whilst I don't see as many clients, I guess from a team side of things, that's where I can still get the same sort of fulfillment, I guess, from those people developing and growing, and being a small part of their journey over the time.
Yeah. Now, tell me about these teammates, because when you walked into the office the first day, you were here in the local Melbourne office, and it was very much around, and then getting some teammates in the Philippines, and tell us about that, having teammates, I guess, around the world and around different parts of Australia, and how that sort of works for you guys, and how it's developed. And obviously, there's a lot of businesses now that do it, but I guess back when you started doing it, there was a lot of people that, before COVID, everybody was wanting to be in the same location. Absolutely.
I think for us, it's always been normal. So we didn't really have to adapt to it. I mean, Doreen was our first teammate in the Philippines. She was there on my first day. So, and we would catch up with her daily at that time. And as I mentioned, she was heavily integrated with the team as much as anyone. And I think for us, that being able to do things on Zoom and still have those cultural experiences over different locations, whether it's a virtual a mystery murder Zoom session, or whether it's a catch up on a Friday, on Zoom for a drink or two, whatever that might be. In a way, also benefited us to a degree when COVID hit, when the first lockdown happened in Melbourne. For us, it was very much business as usual. Most of our meetings were already on Zoom with clients. Clients preferred to meet that way. We always gave them the option of coming into the office or not, but most of them chose to do it on Zoom. It was more convenient for them, and that meant that during COVID, it just meant a few of our clients that would always come into the office, we would just need to teach them how to use Zoom and that process. So from a teammate point of view, we still have the cultural rituals that we do with people that meet in the office. It's just virtual. We definitely value the face-to-face, don't get me wrong. And as an example, we just had our first Philippines teammate retreat a couple of weeks ago, where the 8 of them all met up in Cebu. They're across 3 different locations in the Philippines, but some of these people have been working multiple years together but never seen each other face-to-face. And they all met in person for a 2.5-day retreat. And that was super valuable for those team members, to be able to have that face-to-face interaction, because there's definitely part of, over the COVID experience, we've noticed that you lose some of that to a degree. You can't keep all the cultural side of things virtual all the time, where you can. So, don't get me wrong. We recognise the value of the face-to-face side of things. We still make an effort as a team to go into the office a couple of days a week all together on the same days to have those kind of water cooler moments, as you might call them, or things like that you just don't get at home. And that was evidence is that with the Philippines retreat a couple of weeks ago. But now we have an advisor in Brisbane, Ellie. So we're really wanting to be a national business with teammates overseas as well helping us, and doing that virtually has many more benefits than it would on the con side of things.
Yep. Yeah. Fantastic. And you mentioned that three full-time advisors, two working in the business with yourself and Corey, and associates as well. Did you say associate advisors coming through as a professional year student?
Absolutely. Yeah. So we've got Josh and Stu. Josh is just finished his professional year, actually, just doing the final checks now before we officially appoint him. And Stu is, I believe, next year is going to start his professional year or the year after. So, they're wonderful resources for the advisors in the team, and they're also just fantastic teammates. We didn't even have associates, and that was one of the other rituals we have in place called capacity planning, where we look at the team's capacity and where is it stretched, where are we spending our time, where can we be better spending our time. And Stu was our first associate that we brought on January last year, and it was off the back of that capacity planning where Ash, one of our other advisors, was spending about 20 hours a week taking the introductory chats and doing his own strategy work. And we thought, well, if we could get someone who would just take those introductory chats to the business and do all of the strategy work for the advisors, and that would free up Ash's time. When we talked about it, we thought, actually, that's a no-brainer. So having those kind of good rituals and systems in place, like capacity planning, has led to Stu being here at Verse. And off the back of that, now we have Josh, and there'll be more associates before too long. But yeah, being able to bring associates into the business and really grow and nurture them as advisors, and have them be able to sit in meetings where available and learn from more senior advisors to really develop them as advisors, I think is very rewarding and a great thing for both the advisor and the associate.
Yep. Tell me a bit more about that capacity planning process that you go through, planning that you go through, but also how that looks for you over the short term. Is there plenty more growth on its way?
Yes, we hope so. I mean, I say we hope so. There's definitely a plan in place around that. So yeah, it is an hour session we spend all together. We all fill out an online Excel spreadsheet that goes to the different areas of time that you could spend, whether it's with new clients, existing clients, implementation, power planning. We break it down quite substantially to be able to really narrow down to where that time is going. And it also just gives a good chance for teammates to check in with each other. It's not often, how you're going, busy. Most people say busy, but how busy is busy? Are you drowning in work? Are you actually, more of a 7 out of 10? You can kind of pick up some slack. And to be able to know, which advisors are overwhelmed, which associates are overwhelmed, what part of the business do we need to kind of give more slack to or give more assistance to, perhaps. It just is really beneficial to know as a team to know who do we need to look out for or the like. So as with most businesses, we go through really busy times and then not so busy times. So it's really in those busy times where we can really focus and go, well, okay, things are really getting busy at the moment. We don't want to let the water boil over the outside of the pot. So what are the things we need to focus on? Where do we need to take from? What do we just need to do to make sure that we don't blow up the team? Because we'll always focus on team first rather than growth. We don't want to grow at the expense of team. That would be counterintuitive. So, but yes, absolutely, growth is on the agenda. We want to be, across other cities in Australia. We want to have more advisors in Melbourne and be able to support the team around them with more associates and more teammates in the Philippines helping us from a power planning and implementation perspective. So, the FY 22-23 is going to be a big year for us, having brought on Anna and Ellie in the first half of this year, so last half of 21-22. The plan is to be to bring more of those, more wonderful advisors to the team, but how long that takes, hopefully not too long down the track, but we really want to make sure we get the right people first that that can be really high performers and as I mentioned earlier, hit the ground running on our day one.
Yeah, fantastic. And with that always improvement attitude, what are the things that you're working on within the business now for sort of the short-term future?
Yeah, so for the next 12 months, Fraser, it's really about simplifying our process. We feel like our clients do so many different things from when they reach out to when they finish their implementation. We just think that could be so much better. People spend way too long with us, we think. It can be anywhere from 90 days to 180 days, depending on how complex, I guess, your implementation is. And I think for any professional service, I think that's just way too long. So a really big focus for us over the next 12 months is really simplifying that process. And don't get me wrong, I think I talk about it a bit in the sense that I'm a bit hard on ourselves and how we do it. I think we have a fantastic current way of doing things and client experience and clients love it. I just think that never settle mindset just has me thinking, well, but it could be at least 50% better. And if it could be 50% better, then the sky's the limit from where we could take it from there. So really just focusing on better operationalizing. I had that word earlier. Operationalizing the client experience to improve it even more, and really not being tied down to anything. At this point, I think we've been improving things where we can around the edges, but it might be things we might need to make more wholesale changes to areas of the business in terms of the way we do things in order to achieve those efficiencies. But with the same view of always having, how does it impact the client? How does it impact on the value we deliver to clients? And making sure that is always improving. But at the same time, it's just how do we better deliver that at more scale with less manual intervention, more automation, more systems and processes that are valuable. I think a lot of businesses get caught up in the new shiny piece of technology and go, "Ooh, that looks great, I'll do that," and then it just adds 30 minutes to their every client, but it only adds 2% of of an overall value. So they're I guess two of the main pillars for us: growing the team and really simplifying the way that we do things to make it easier for clients to interact with us.
I think there'll be a lot of people reaching out to you afterwards to find out exactly how you're doing that, because I think that might be on the agenda of quite a few people over the next sort of 6 to 12 months. Let's push it out long term. What does the business look like? Do you have any long term strategy plans to be something in the future?
It's a good question, Fraser. I think for us, if you said we were here where we are now 5 years ago, I mean, I think we'd be pleasantly surprised. I think maybe we would have thought we'd be maybe a bit further ahead than we thought we were, just given how we think how wonderful our client experience is. So I think things have taken a little longer perhaps than we thought. But at the same time, I think we're at the point now where we have a really fantastic client experience, and being able to put the right people into that means that we can kind of scale very easily with the marketing strategy that we have in place. So those two key pillars, it's just about finding the right people. So that'll be the focus for us moving forward. So yeah, longer term, could we see Verse across all capital cities? Absolutely. Beyond that, at this point, I don't think there's much more definitive plans in place, but I think we're just focusing on, getting these next, 12, 24, 36 months right, getting those people on board and growing from there.
Fantastic. Daniel, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey through to date. Of course, there's TBA as this goes through. If someone wants to continue this conversation with you, what's the best way for them to reach out and find you?
The best way would probably be either my email, daniel@versewealth.com.au. I am on LinkedIn as well. Feel free to reach out to me there. And yeah, happy to have a chat to anyone who's keen to learn more.
Thank you so much for sharing your journey. You've been really generous, and we really appreciate it.
Thank you, Fraser. Appreciate your time.